Right, it is time for my predictions for UFC 109. I think this is quite a good looking card actually. There are some reasonably calibred names on it. I'm thinking Nate Marquardt, Mike Swick, Demian Mayer, Melvin Guillard, you know, those people that are sort of quite well known. There are also a few who are not well known, but who I think will probably give exceptionally good performances anyway. We've got a Gracie, we've got Tim Hague, who else have we got? Chael Sonnen, Dan Miller, got a few toughers as well. Not so pleased with the main event, but I'll get to that anyway when the time comes. I'm going to start at the bottom of the card, work all the way up till I get to the top, then I'm going to stop. Mustafa Al-Turk is fighting Rolls Gracie. Now, there are a lot of Gracies, and Rolls may be one that you haven't heard of. The reason is he's not got a very long record. He's got a perfect record of 3. All the wins do come by submission, however. Mustafa is actually British, with a record of 6 and 5. Both wins and loses by TKO, so this is sort of going to be groundsman versus stand-up here. But he's coming off 2 losses in a row, 1 to Trigg Congo, 1 to Crow Cop. I think the name here might mean quite a bit. I know Rolls hasn't got the longest of records, but if he is of the Gracie strand, if he is blessed with those sorts of genetics and those sort of, you know, if he's basically an heir to the throne of his lineage, so to speak, he will do quite well here, despite Mustafa being good on his feet and despite him having a long record. I'm going to go for Rolls Gracie, but I'll go for it as a submission in the 3rd round. I'll go for a bar submission there. Tim Hague is fighting Chris Serra, I think that's how you pronounce it, I'm not quite sure. Chris is coming off a loss, but his record is 17 and 2. He has wins over the likes of Travis Fulton and losses to the likes of Gabriel Gonzaga. He wins by TKO, loses, well, it can be by anything. He's only lost twice, so it's a little hard to say, you know, that he usually loses by this when he's lost by 2 different things. Tim Hague is 10 and 2, wins by TKO and sometimes submission. Again, his losses, he's only got 2, so you can't really make a judgment on that. He is, however, coming off of a loss. And something to notice with him is that his wins are over reasonable calibers here. We've got Patrick Barry, who's a sucker punch fighter, and Sherman Pendergast, who I believe is an MFS fighter. Despite the difference here in records, I'm still going to go for Tim Hague here. I'm going to go for a TKO in the 2nd with that. Right, the next one, Brian Stan, who you might know from the WEC. He is 8 and 2, fighting out of the Jacksons camp. Wins by TKO and usually loses by submission or decision. He's on a 2-fight win streak with wins. Now, yes, this is the guy whose record revolves around Steve Cantwell. He has fought him 3 times. He has won twice and lost once. And that really is the only high-powered name that I know on his record. So there. He is fighting a guy called Phil Davis. Now, Phil Davis has a perfect record of 4. But he's making his debut. 2 out of those 4 wins are by TKO. I would be surprised if Phil Davis, even with a perfect record, can beat Brian Stan. But I shall go out on a limb and say that perhaps he is good enough to lose, not to be finished. I'll go for Brian Stan by decision, even though it does say he sometimes loses by decision. I think he will do enough to beat Phil Davis by decision. I'll go for decision win there. This is the honorary tough throwaway match that they always seem to have one of. This is Rob Emerson versus Felipe Nova. Now, Felipe Nova you will know from the finals. His record is 5 and 2, but he's coming off of 2 losses. He hasn't done so well since Tough. He's lost to Efrain Escudero. That was one, I think that was the finals. Usually wins by submission, loses by TKO or decision. Rob Emerson is 8-8, so this next match will determine whether he stays above board or whether he actually drops below. He wins by TKO. He loses by decision. You know, he's got 7 losses. He's also coming off 2 losses in a row. Both these guys are in a little bit of trouble. Rob Emerson stands to lose the most because he will drop. He will have his losses higher than his winnings if he loses this one, and may well be gotten rid of. And Felipe Nova just stands to sort of be dropped out of the institution if he loses. So both guys have quite a lot going for riding on this. So I shall say that I shall go for Felipe Nova. I shall go for bar submission in the 3rd, I think, there. A guy called Ronis Torres, something like that. Ronys Torres, him. He has a fantastic record, 14-1, and he's on an 8-fight win streak. But I don't see no calibers on his record. He's making his debut. He wins by TKO and submission, but he loses by TKO as well. He is fighting Melvin Guillard. Now, Melvin Guillard is 22-8. He's got 13 TKO victories. That is a little bit of an issue, I feel, in this match. Basically, Melvin seems to only lose 2 names. I'm going to go and say that I think Melvin is going to win this one probably by TKO. Go for TKO in the 1st, I'm afraid. Mac Danzig is back. I don't know why, since he is now coming off 3 losses in a row. He is fighting Justin Buchholz, who's 8-4, wins by submission and TKO, loses by the same. He's coming off 2 losses in a row. His losses are to the likes of Matt Wyndham, Terry Eaton, and what's his name? Little Ethan. I can't remember what his actual name is. Jeremy Stevens, that's the guy. There's no way they can possibly keep Mac Danzig if he fails a 4th time in a row. But Justin Buchholz, you know, he's going to be in trouble if he fails, because this will be his 3rd loss in a row. I'm going to go out on a limb and I'm going to say I think Mac Danzig will probably win this one, but I'm not quite sure how. Might be the first event I don't do so well on in my picks, you know. Dan Miller and Damian Mayer. This is going to be a fantastic ground war. In the end, I think I'm going to have to go for Damian Mayer. Despite the fact he got lost by a quick KO last time, I'm still going to go for Damian Mayer. But it could well go to decision, this. It's just going to be a case of who has got the least submission defence, I think, with this. Mike Swick and Paulo Tiago. I'll go for Mike Swick. But I'm not going to say how. Nathan Marquardt versus Chael Sonnen. 29-8 for Nathan, 23-10 for Chael. Nathan is a submission artist. He's got 15 of them. Chael Sonnen, he wins by TKO, loses by submission. This is Quest versus Jacksons, in case anybody wants to know. Nathan, of course, is sporting a 3-fight win streak here. Oh, again, this is going to be a another difficult one to call. I think if Nathan Marquardt, you know, I'm going to go for Nathan Marquardt. I just think he's ever so slightly better. I think he'll go to the ground, and I think that will be Sonnen's difficulty. So I'm going to go for Nathan Marquardt there. I should go for submission. I should go for choke submission in the 2nd.